Good morning, everyone. I am going to continue with my discussion about ethics. So I will be sharing to you my presentation. Okay, so of course, we're done with the origin of ethics. Where did ethics actually came from? So of course, we know already that it is a branch of philosophy. So everybody are actually asking what ethics is all about. And previously, yes, I shared to you what ethics and the specific grounds on what ethics is actually holding on. So let's proceed with the introduction to ethics. So what is ethics? So ethics is actually coming from the Greek word ethos, which means cultural custom or habit. So in Latin, it is also called as morales or custom. So philosophical ethics or moral philosophy is actually the study of values and norms by which we live and the justification of these values and norms. So dadya no ato makita ang uh, meaning no sa ethics by means of uh, kani ang iyahang nabilong siya sa philosophy. So in continuation, it actually analyzes and evaluates norms or rules of conduct in the light of accepted universal principles and concerns. So I've been mentioning, I believe I am mentioning this one before, no, na it actually has its view. It's not only about something that is limited to a few number of people, but this is something considered as universal. Meaning to say, uh, coming from a theory, gihimay-himay siya no sa mataglahi nga mga tao, no, to the extent they actually approve that this particular act has to be buhaton sa mga tao para to maintain. Siguro if we are going to examine kung unsa gyud ang punto about sa ethics is of course since this is the basis on how human actually ought to act, okay, kana nga usahay makanahon na ang tao no kay since we are very imperfect kanahon na ta usahay og nga sayop nga mga plano, sayop nga mga buhat, sayop nga mga ipang tabi or ipang istorya towards ato ang mga isikataw. So we cannot deny the fact that sometimes makapahiubos or makapasakit or even we can do harm towards other people. So it becomes universal. Like for example, mingon ta ang pagpangawat. I believe no siguro tanan in any forms of religion kani pagpangawat is pangawat man no. You tend to actually imuhang gikuha no kanang mga dispossessions sa laing tao. So of course it's not good, especially if that is not something imong gihinaguan. Okay? Other than that, kaning pagpatay, no? Kaning pagpatay, I believe any forms of killing, no? Lain-lain nga matang sa pagpatay is of course it's also a violation sa tuang existence as a human being because unsa may nature sa tuang existence is kanino we have to protect our life and at the same time we also have to protect sa katungod sa tuang isikataw, so that's very important. Now kung usbon, it's not only agreed by a few numbers of people, but in general, daghan nga mga tao or daghan of group of people which actually studied and actually approved the theory or approved that kind of principle nga sakto sa siya, no? Next, we have, of course, ethics is the branch of social science which deal with concepts such as right and wrong, good and bad, fair and unfair, just and unjust, legal and illegal, moral and immoral, proper and improper, in respect of human actions. So it is a science of morality which guides the actions of individuals or groups. In short, ethics refer to the conduct or to the code of conduct. So the point to be noticed here is all actions should be directed towards achieving highest level of satisfaction and happiness with greatest number of people. So mingon siya highest satisfaction because this is not only for a few number of people and the happiness that could somehow actually bear upon the performance no or upon the way that was actually performed by every individual nga makapalipay siya at the same time it could actually provides benefit to the number of people. Okay, Next, here's the case, no? The boy who ate the pickle. So a 9-year-old youngster named Joseph Camp, who lived in inner city Washington, ate a pickle that he had bought from a street vendor. So soon after eating, he went into convulsions and collapsed on the sidewalk. So a rescue squad took him to the nearest emergency room where his stomach was pumped. So tests revealed that the pickle contained traces of marijuana and phencyclidine. So the emergency room personnel restored respiration by putting him on a ventilator, but they were unable to restore him to conscious or get him breathing adequately on his own. So the physicians concluded that his brain function was irreversibly destroyed and that there was no possibility of recovery. So they might have simply pronounced him dead. And yeah, no, didn't stop the ventilator, but the situation soon became more complicated. Two of the attending neurologists were convinced that the patient's brain was totally dead, but one believed that he had minor brain functions still in place. So they were incapable of pronouncing the patient dead based on loss of brain function. So now the question became, what should they do? So their patient was still living but permanently unconscious, breathing only because he was on ventilator. So the physician pointed out that there was nothing more they could do except keep the ventilator running, perhaps indefinitely, and maintain the boy in a permanent vegetative state. So the parents were Muslims, and they believed that Allah would intervene if it was his will. So, and that it was the physician's job to give Allah that opportunity. How should the physicians respond? So we know already. Dili question on how we are actually putting importance on ethics. Because if we are going to examine the story about the boy na nikaon og usa ka pickle, nya na ditoy marijuana, and then yes, to make the long story short, the boy was actually intoxicated. Maybe wala makuan sa bata, no, wala madala sa iyahang immune system, no, ang iyang nakaon. So with that, mo na to nakakos sa tao sa bata na himong vegetative comatose. So siguro if we are going for some katong physician, attending physician, patay na ning bata, but napay usa ka physician nga ningon nga still napa may function ang iyang brain. So meaning to say, if we are going to, of course it depends, no, sa individual na to kung saan na to na pagsabot. So for the others, maybe they are going to think nga patyo na lang na siya o kanabang tangtango na lang tong ventilator because that is the only kuano, dili na lang sila, no, magkuan ba, maglibog-libog sa ilang utok kay even though kuan na bisag napay gamay nga parts ang brain considered man gyapon, no, like for example unsa man day normal percent that a person has a chance for recovery. So no one can also tell about the chance of recovery kung pila ka porsyento. But magdepende man sa matag belief sa usa ka tawo. Uban mingon na patay na nay. Napoy usa nga ningon nga actually buhi pa manggod kay napa may 1% life. So magdepende, no, og depende po na sa ato nga disposition as like pareha na to, we are just only the reader, we're not dili na to nakaliwat ng bataa, but for some who actually shows concern, and here gani, no, atong nakita diri ang kaning gitawag natong dilemma ba between you in your profession and the belief of the person who was actually in the place of the situation, like iyang ginikanan. So diha, no, atong nakita diha, they believe, they are Muslim, they believe that Allah would intervene if Allah would actually meant to extend the life of the boy. Of course he will do that one. And for the physician, mingon po sila, no, nga ang kaning physician, no, ang pangutana diri iyahabang tumanon that it was the physician's job to give Allah that opportunity. So mura na hinog na question nato, no, nga mas gamhanan pa ang mga physician. But one thing is for sure, let us focus on the problem here. It is involving ethics. No, atong tanawon diri, no, we mentioned about the ethics that is katong applied ethics, no, which is certainly ato agid siya, no, nga ma-relate ato we can actually integrate nga ang usa ka mga physician na mas sila pinanumpaan nga kani pong ni conflict po diri, no, ang ni-intervene po diri nga variable is kaning about God. Now if those physicians are actually coming from another religion, dili sila mga Muslim, so na possibility dire no nga pwede nila siguro mingon na lang sila ilang tagtangon tong ventilator, this is nothing and there's no chance that this boy could actually survive. Or kay kani huwaton na lang jud nga mamatay na pay uban mo mga huwaton nila mamatay no, or kuan na lang i-resort na lang to euthanasia. So dira no ato ang matubag diri importante kay ang ethics. Kay sometimes dili gid sometimes but at all times atong kinabuhi sa matag adlaw we can always encounter situations wherein we have to choose what is right and what is wrong. Okay, so I hope that that is something that could actually open up your mind and allow your shall we say the previous knowledge that you have, the influence coming from the religion, the kind of um, relationship and the kind of parenting systems that you have enjoyed sa inyong panimalay. Sometimes we have to kaning kung ethics no, I encourage everybody that one. That's the reason why ningon ko allow yourself to take a back seat no kay usahay ato mo na siyang iwaglit kay in order to avoid and to understand, because if we put limitations on how we are going to learn ethics, murang guni siya og kwan kas daan ba ang ethics. So if you notice this is something that could actually interfere with the kind of belief that you have, malimit ang imuhang understanding, malimit ang imuhang pag touch kung unsa giday ni siya, malimit ang imuhang pag-acquire of knowledge. So dili no niya 4 levels of moral discourse. So napuday tagitaw moral discourse no diri sa ethics no, the level of the case or the casuistry. We have number 2 the rules and the rights, the code of ethics, the normative ethics no as designed by the society or the group, and the meta ethics which is something descriptive or natawag siya by situations no, on how we are going to no, on how we perceive with the situation. Now let's proceed with the casuistry. So the approach to ethics that addresses case problems by applying paradigm or settled cases, attempting to identify morally relevant similar and dissimilar features. So diya no, ato ang makita no kung like it depends on the situation. Kaya dili no atong kaingon diya no, addresses case problems kuno by applying paradigm. So how will be the paradigm to be created? Ang settled cases depende man no. This is a case to case basis. Like for example, mingon ko ninyo o kamo ato tong ibalik no ang katong hitabo sa katong bata. So for you siguro mingon mo no, I experienced that one before sa ako ang kaliwat niya. It actually lasted for 6 months, no, half of a year. Nya wala magi recovery. So that's the reason why we suggested the physician to resort to euthanasia na lang yun. So that is based on the experience that we have that actually make that kind of decision to be biased at some point to the view of the people. But for those people who actually experience also a miracle, tawag na natong miracle no, nga kana nga ang chance of recovery is 1% na lang, pero tinuod man tungod kinay miracle nabuhi gyud. So sometimes you're not going to say nga it would be better to resort with euthanasia because not unless ang tao di gid 100% nga mamatay na gina chance for recovery. So magdepende no sa ato nga kini nga experience siya. Now let's proceed with rules and rights. So the codes of ethics, this is something very important because wherever you go class, you can actually encounter this one, whether you're going to go to a particular organization, trabaho sa trabahoan man na, or kung sa may mga affiliations ninyo lain. So of course there must be an ethics that are actually designed. What is the purpose nga nang gi-design mo na siya? Kanang very plain and simple kaayo nga kaniba nga goal ba to maintain peace and order. So mao gyud yung sagad unya in other view also kaning code of ethics, like just like for example akong gi-mention niyo a while ago that each profession has its own professional codes of ethics wherein mo na lang gilantaw. Like for example, me as a psychology graduate, of course, we also have this professional code of ethics no nga mua pong gitun-an wherein we can actually make this one, or we are going to embrace this one as a basis nga dili we can always exercise a very dignifying way of practicing our profession. So like pareha na mga teacher, di mo na pwede ang mga teacher no nga maninda sa eskwelahan. So na sila part of that, di na sila pwede mongolek og money, dili gina sila pwede ana no nga molektas lag kwarta. That is part example lang na no. Ang kani mga doctor, of course, they are not shall we say, they're not actually allowed to divulge whatever will be the result of the findings or the findings of the client, not unless they are told to disclose that one. No, di mo sila pwede mo disclose ana because that is a confidential. And then of course, pwede sila ma-file og case na mamiligro sila, no, mataktakan og lisensya and so on to the rest of the courses nga napod sila gitamdan nga code of ethics. From the word code, batakan. No? Moral rules, concrete statements specifying patterns of morally right conduct, sometimes believed to be derived from more abstract moral principles. Ang tawag siya abstract moral principles because, of course, it's actually the conception coming from the mind. No? Something that is, ang moral, like for example, mingon taninyo, kato no, go back ta sa kaning pagpaninda o sa ka-teacher. Of course, if you're going to examine that one, pwede raman, no? Mingon ka nga, panginabuhian man sad na. But at some point, we cannot deny the fact that having that kind of position can also be an opportunity for the teacher to exercise unsa man the conflict of interest. Like for example, mingon ko ninyo, we have the two comparison. We have Mark and Jaika. Mark is dato, Jaika is pobre. Ang maestra naninda og mga mahalon kay nga mga hopya. Si Jaika di ka afford, si Mark ka afford. Mas dako grado si Mark. Now, asa naman diha ang ato ang code of ethics if you're not going to anticipate that kind of practice, or that could actually result to malpractice, no nga kana ba nga matawag li conflict of interest nga unta dili dapat part sa iyang sa scope sa iyang responsibility ang mo-exercise og nana, but ang the bias system will be exercised could be because of some factors. So that's the birth of that, or the conception of that is actually coming from kanino gikuan gid siya, gihunahuna gid siya, undergo mo na ating balikon ni apply siya og science because it actually undergoes a very systematic kayo nga paagi sa pag-design ana niya nga mga batakan. Okay, the rights, justified moral or legal claims to entitlements of liberties often seek as tasking precedence over trumping considerations of consequences. So dili, of course, the liberty is actually mo imong kaluha. So the moment that you are actually conceived, mo na imong kaluha ay ato ang liberty. Now, the liberty that we have, no one can actually take it away from you because imuha mo na, no? And that everyone, that the rights of every individual has to be exercised and has to be unsa man, it has to be respected by the people. Okay? So diha siya mo fall. Now, let's proceed with how rigidly do rules apply. So, diha no, makita no rules apply or antinomianism. Rules apply. Excuse me class. Na isa gamay day kay team kay dako ko tingog day. Sapo mo tingog diri sa akong discussion. Okay, go back to my discussion. I'm sorry for the intervention of some factor. Okay. Let me continue with where I stopped. Okay, how rigidly do rules apply? We have number one, no rules apply or antinomianism. So dira no, usahay, makaingon man ta na usahay, anong mahitabo man no nga no rules apply. It depends on the situation. That is something that can, like for example, if no one actually proposed a particular nga code or a particular like matawag na to no o kana bang basihan. So it could be an individual, it could actually rely no sa interpretation sa matag lain-lain. So mo rely siya diha siya mo fall. Like for example, mangutana ko ninyo, maingon ko ninyo og kitang tanan no, kitang tanan dapat mutabang kita og panlimpyos mga kasada, mutabang tanan mga basurero nga ilang segregate ang mga sagbot, ang mga basura. Tumingon gid mo no nga lagi na personal bias na uh, with reflections to no rules apply. If there are no rules, if that is not something that could actually give a beneficial towards you, so of course you are not going to participate. That's the very nature of a human being. But if that is something that could actually add up, or that could actually cause you to avail this what we call edge, no, pwede na nimo mahimong like para na mga politician ba during bagyo wala gyud nga ngabot, pero pag karon na noon nga after bagyo na nga hapit na hinangat eleksyon na nang hatag og dilata na nang hatag og bugas. And why is that so? That they obligate themselves. Actually, there's no rules apply anang kaniba wala may nagbuot ninyo mohatag kag di, but for them just because that is something necessary for them para nga mahumot sila, they have to do something para ang mga tao pod makuan po nila no murag mahug siya og kanang kuan pukaw loob. Rules apply rigidly or legalism. So kaning rules apply rigidly, of course everybody are actually kuan gid siya ani no maka-avail. Ay ta pareha nitong balaod no mingon tag legalism. Everybody are actually bound for legality. Everybody has to follow. No, we have to adhere with the law, or else, of course, you will suffer with the consequence. Mingon tag ay mo pangawat, ay mo pangawat. Nagibutang no left turn gina. Because surely when you get caught, of course, you will be perished. You will be punished. Okay? Situationalism, moral rules as rules of thumbs or guidelines that must be evaluated in each situation. So pareha na to, no? Like for example, mingon ko ninyo kani atoa karon no. Before we started sa atoang klase, nag-start ko ninyo, nag-introduce ko ninyo sa atoang new guidelines for new guidelines for the new normal. No, the guidelines for the academic guidelines for the new normal. So of course that is a situation case. No, that is a case to case basis. Okay? The kind of policy that we are adopting right now is a different policy with what we have sa tuang atog yung physical class. Ngayon tawag siya situationalism because it depends on the situations. So right now, what is suitable for an online class is to be applied only on an online class. Okay? What are the rules that are actually imposed during the physical meetup is only applicable for the physical meetup rapod. Okay? Number 4, rules of practice. Rules specify practices that are morally obligatory. Kanino? This is morally obligatory. Like for example, parehaan ang pag-follow sa policy sa eskwelahan. Na before you enter the gate, of course, you have to present your ID. So of course, you become that becomes obligatory. No, that you have to follow. Kanipod, kanisat sa bus, bawal manigarilyo. Di ba? Naman ay butang sa bus nga sakyan ano, lain po kay kag managkot kag sigarilyo dito no, magtayop-tayop, bulot-bulot kag sigarilyo dito. So, what is commonly what are the common kaning mga pangbuhat sa mga tao within sud sa bus? So, maulaw jud ka no, magtan-aw ka la, wa man sila manigarilyo nya ako rin manigarilyo. So, of course that becomes automatic nga rules of practice. So you have to practice also just like what the people have done. Normative ethics, a branch of ethics having to do with standards of right and wrong. Rules and rights are derived from these basic norms. These norms are general because they apply to a wide range of conduct and character. Just like what I mentioned previously with my discussion, like the rule of the society, not the rules but kaning balaod diri sa tuwa no, like for example natay kanang kada munisipyo na to no naman gyud na siya mga balaod no butang nga bawal ni garilyo dinhi. So that's the norms that are needed to be followed, di ba? Like for example moadto tag simbahan, You have to wear proper dress code. So that's part of the norms. If you're not going to follow that one, it's either you will be punished by the law or else you will be ganang gitawag na to o kanang political punishment. So na political punishment plus dili mo panisan sa politiko ha, dili politiko ang mo punish niyo but the society. Unsa may punishment sa society na mo sir? It's not the law. Kay kanang law no society may pagay mo na but ang punishment nila na is could be biayon ka. Mingon nga ni kalain ni Katrina nagsulot og mubong sayal sa simbahan no, igat ning bihan na. Umana no? So of course that's dahil na zero that's the example anyway. No? Next, we have 3 questions of normative ethics: action theory, value theory, and virtue theory. Action theory, what principles make actions morally right? So, di ano, ito makita, no? The action, coming from the word itself, action. So, di ano, sa may principles, no nga, angayan na tubuhaton na para inline ta with unsay insakto. Okay? Na para nang maingon ta ninyo nga maingon di ano sud sa eskwelahan, maingon ang eskwelahan nga bawal maggakos-gakos, bawal magkiskis sa eskwelahan. So of course, if you are going to think that kind of principle nga na siya gi-imposed man na siya, maybe that is something not designed for nothing. That is something designed for a purpose, for a cause. Nana say padulungan, nana say maayong kapaingnan, no? Value theory, what kinds of consequences are good or valuable? So diya no sa value theory, diya punta unsa may makuha na to. Okay, we're talking about value, di ba? Unsa may makuha na to? Like for example, mingon ta nga ayaw mo pagsigig inom. So when we are going to put basis on the value theory, imo po na hunahunaon no nga unsa may para unsa din nako if I am going to drink, what is it to me? Is this something that could actually make me happy or this is something that could only cause me burden? Because of course no kung mainom ka mugasto ka or else if you become that becomes habitual, of course that could lead a person to addiction nga to the extent nga maka-affect ginaw psychological and sa atong health. So mo na siya sa value theory, if that is something na kabugat nato o mo na just like pareha to kung giingon sad po ninyo no, that is one of the example also na patabangon mo clean up drive di mo mutabang kay mungutana man mo para asa man ni unsa may mahitabo na ko ani if I am going to perform, I am going to join them. That's part of value theory. Virtue theory, what kinds of character traits are morally praiseworthy? Sometimes we put basis on the view of the people. Mungutag sa virtue theory mo tinanong nga according I can still remember with the proposal of Aristotle in his philosophical view nga ningon siya nga in order for a man to live his life more happily and enjoyably and to live your life meaningfully in a very meaningful way, of course you have to live your life by virtue. There is a virtue, what kinds of character traits are morally praiseworthy. So para nimo, in order to gain trust, in order to gain praises, dili sa ingon pagpakaron ingnon klasa. This is something valuable towards you in relation to value theory also. Arita sa virtue theory, of course, it depends on you. If you wanted to actually have that kind of life nga kana bang nindot ka sa pananaw sa mga tao o nindot ka sa pananaw sa Dios, numero 1 gid sa Dios no, nindot sa ka mahimong pananaw sa mga tao because mahimo kang good example to them, mo na no, you have to follow this what we call virtue theory. Okay, next, meta-ethics deals with the most basic questions of ethics, the meaning and justification of ethical terms, how people know which principles or virtues are the correct ones, and the ultimate grounding of ethics. So what is the source of ethics? How do we know what is ethical? So diri no atong malantaw diri kaning meta-ethics class, this is something very shall we say mingon ko ninyo class, this is something very technical among I am not saying this is the most superior but something that is very special nga naman diri man ko no imo nang tan-awon din no, the meaning and justification of ethical terms. Unsa may pasabot ani sir maglibog niya mi sir Oh, justification of ethical terms atong balikon unsa man na siya giunsa man na siya pag-decide. Like for example, mingon ta dili sa we are going to make comparison sa arita sa Roman Catholic. Ang kaning pagminyo, ato imagine ang kaning pagminyo no og kaning usa ka tawo is giuyunan sa Roman Catholic, but to marry a lot of women is no longer accepted with the culture. Nga naman, the customs of the Roman Catholic. Nga naman, of course, for them, that could actually question the genuineness of love, no, the genuineness of feelings. Na, ingon ka, no, nga, my feelings for you is so genuine. Ingon na ba mo nga, ikaw ang buhay ko. Nga, asa naman buhay ko niya? Kung daghan imong asawa, hindi daghan imong buhay. So, muna, no, diha siya mo fall. No, nga, sometimes, kaning meta-ethics, man God, no, you have to examine the origin, the cause, why is that so that this kind of ethics is actually designed, and what does it actually functions for, no, to the society. Nya nagini siya no, nagini siya kapaingnan. Namingon tag unsa may justification o ang justification about pag-marry anang like sa Roman Catholic mo marry og usa ka buk, they have the justification because that could question, no. What about arita sa Islam? For them, it's okay because their justification is so long that you can actually provide all the needs of your family. Bahalag daghan kag asawa nga maka-provide ka sa imong asawa. Actually, it's not bad at all. What makes it bad is when you are going to marry a lot of women but you cannot provide all of their needs. So mo na mahimo kang bati. But if you can provide, then good for you. No, it's not bawal. Okay? So muna no, ato ang makita diha ang way of justification, the ultimate grounding of ethics. Diin man na siya nagmugna, pero diin man na siya nagmugna sir ngano ni come up man sig nana. As far as as far as my research is concerned, no, I even have my classmates before when I was in college. According to her, no, ang kaning ato ang Bible is not merely far different from the kind of Bible that they have. Pareha raman kuno class, pareha raman, but what makes it different is kanino usa na diha nahimong basihan nila, like for example mingon ta sa unang panahon pa jud class, no, sa una mga sawam to sila og kuano tagduhay asawa anak, so mo po ilang nahimong basis, excuse me, mo po nahimong basis nila nga maabot og tagtulo ang asawa. It's not wala na dito na nila gibasihan nga okay ra di ay, no nya. Karon sa tuwa mo god, we focus more on the Judeo-Christian nga period wherein nana diha ang ato ang New Testament sa Bible. Nga diha pud ta nagtamod no sa tuang panggawi sa matag adlaw, pagkinabuhi sa matag adlaw. Okay? To answer all of those questions. Now, morality is not the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. Ano? So, ang kaniyang morality ko no, dili ko no doktrina no nga unsaon na to paghimo to galingon nga malipay sa Bisaya pa. Dili day na siya no, ang doktrina day sa morality is kung unsaon na to paghimo ang ato ang kaugalingon nga deserving sa kalipay or angayan nga malipay. Tinuod man natin according to Immanuel Kant. Tinuod man no kay if you are just doing that one by means of you're doing that particular actions just because you wanted to become happy, it's not something that is deep, no, in deep kayong motives na matawag ra siya o pwede naman no, like for example mingon ko karon nga kanino ato ibutang sa situation, my friend actually invited me nga kana nga moadto sa ihang birthday. Nya napod akong girlfriend, for example ra na ha, napod akong girlfriend na text po nako nga manlaag mi as mi ako pilion. So if I were to based on morality, actually the two of them are very important to me. So akong buhaton, no? Akong buhaton is akong dalon akong girlfriend sa bahay sa akong amigo. Mangaon mi dito, na magpangaon mi dito, manlakaw na mi. Di nakuha na akong kalipay. But it's not designed with para nako respetar naman to, but that is your motive. Now the question is atong hunahunaon, pila man ka percent nga happiness ka paminaw nimo ang nakuha nimo ato, ang na-achieve nimo ato. It's not something dako, no? It's only a temporary or gamay ra kind of happiness, murag taphaw ra. Unlike sa kaning how you make yourself worthy of happiness. Like for example, if a lot of people are actually you're struggling about a lot of people no nga kana nga mubuo panan-aw nimo usahay gidaog-daog na ka no sometimes you have to let go no all of those people because you know yourself that of course you deserve to be happy, so of course you have to eliminate all of those bad people or all of those mga situations na pwede nimo nga di ka makahimo nga di ka mahimong happy. Like for example, you're going to follow someone's will that is actually designed for you. Like mingon imong ginikanan nga mingon ka coming from your heart, mingon ka ma I really love to be a teacher. Mingon ni mama, no, I can afford to actually send you to a kana nga mahalon ng eskwelahan. I want you to become a stewardess. Which is not para nimo, di mo na para nga di mo na para kuan nimo no, di mo na something nga mo kuan si mo kasing-kasing, so why will you follow that one? So you have to make decisions that is not something no nga for a very shallow kayo nga paagi nga makahatag ra nimo temporary happiness. Make something that could actually end up, or the terminal of your decisions must be something that can make you feel that you are worthy about the achievement nga happiness. Okay, so I think that's how my discussion ended with the introduction of ethics. Thank you so much, and I hope you have learned a lot from this discussion. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless you.